My name's Titus Gall, and I am the President/CEO of Tower Tech Incorporated. I started this business about 3 days after I retired from the Federal Aviation Administration after a 32-year career as an air traffic controller. My career started in the United States Navy in 1969. I spent 9 years in the Navy as an air traffic controller, 2.5 years of which were spent aboard an aircraft carrier in the Tonkin Gulf. From the Navy, I went to the Department of Defense as a civilian controller at Naval Air Station Lemoore, where I was also stationed as a sailor. Then, of course, the strike in 1981 happened where all the controllers were basically fired. And, of course, as a Department of Defense controller, I was not subject to that firing. So I ended up going from Lemoore to Fresno as an air traffic controller for the FAA. Spent 2 years at Fresno as a tower controller and a radar approach controller. Then came to Sacramento Approach Control in 1985. And during the time that I was at Sacramento, I was asked to become an instructor for the on-the-job training part of the program. There were 2 courses that I taught. I taught the on-the-job training instructor as a cadre instructor. In other words, I was put in front of a class and asked to teach the instructors how to do their jobs. And then there were examiners that were a step beyond the instructor position, and I was also a cadre instructor for the examiner position. Went on to the operational supervisor's workshop as a cadre instructor and taught other supervisors how to be more effective in their jobs. During the time that I went from Sacramento Approach to Northern California TRACON, which is a very large combined facility with nearly 200 controllers working, certainly not all at the same time, but they have a staffing of nearly 200 controllers. I was also asked to teach a course for the Forest Service in their aviation safety management course. I taught basic air traffic control, the lingo. I mean, the phraseology in air traffic is something that most people don't understand. I also taught weather, being a certified weather observer, and I also got into team building, and team building was probably the biggest part of the whole course that I taught. Probably important to note that part of the qualification to teach for the Forest Service was to become an adjunct professor, and I was qualified to do that through University Davis, the college system, and basically had to qualify myself to become that instructor. So here I am, an adjunct professor at UC Davis, teaching a course for the Forest Service and passing along information and experiences that I had learned in the FAA in a 32-year career.
Make a straight into runway 30, call me on a 2-mile final. Right now you're number 2 for the runway final on a biplane on the left base.
The main idea of having this business came with the circumstance of being an FAA controller on a list to do temporary air traffic control towers for the Forest Service in a firefighting environment. So we called them fire towers. And those towers seemed to be logistically cumbersome for the Forest Service in all the equipment that they had to provide for the air traffic controllers, and I thought that there was a better way to provide that service.
On the coastline, standby 1. Big Blue, yes sir, land short, land at 180, and there is traffic departing midfield from Bravo. Out of the side, thank you. AirCam, the biplane has you inside, no factors.
We have a custom-built trailer that basically has a segregated work environment, i.e. a fully functional tower cab with all the radio equipment already in it. We have printers, we have fax service, we have 3 tons, at least 3 tons of air conditioning in that trailer. So we have the tower cab is the integral working part of the trailer, and then the rest of the trailer is living accommodations for 2 controllers. So we have in the living quarters We have a full bathroom, we have a complete kitchen, we have a refrigerator freezer, we have HD TV, we have air conditioning there, we have generally 100 gallons of water, fresh water, that we carry in the trailer. The trailers provide their own power via diesel ultra-quiet generators, 2 per trailer, so we're never without power. And we also carry 100 gallons of fuel for that generator, so we can run that generator for almost a week without putting more fuel in it. So the self-contained, fully complete package is what we offer. Each trailer has its own vehicle or truck to pull it down the highway, and that becomes the ground transportation for the controller crew of 2 that will be in the trailer. They can actually live in the trailer. This unit, when it's ordered up, is absolutely complete. The only support that is required by contract, both on the CAL FIRE contract and the Forest Service contract, is potable water. In other words, we need fresh water to make coffee with and shower, etc. in the trailer, and sewer service for the trailer. So we have our tanks taken care of when needed. Other than that, we bring everything. And if you compare that to what the letter of agreement that the Forest Service has with the Federal Aviation Administration, it's a 3-page document of items that the Forest Service, should the FAA not be able to bring along with them, goes from radios to a trailer to rental cars, all the way down to a toothbrush. So if you want a turnkey operation, then Tower Tech is where you need to go, because you're not going to get it with the Federal Aviation Administration. Basically, from the FAA, and I certainly am not looking down my nose at the FAA. The controllers are definitely top-notch in what they do. But what they do and what we do, both being air traffic control, is quite different. And it goes to the understanding of the needs of an air show environment, the needs of a helibase environment in a remote airport. So being completely self-contained is a huge load off the aviation personnel that are managing the helibase. It makes it very logistically friendly to call on Tower Tech.
Yeah, big blue on the left base, 30.
Blue, roger, runway 30, clear line.
Clear to land 30, we'd like to do the 180 if it works.
Clear, land short 180.
Thank you.
Tower Tech covers basically, when we consider fire season, we consider the 7 western states. What we have told the Forest Service and CAL FIRE, that we will be anywhere, in CAL FIRE's case, anywhere in the state of California and operational within 24 hours of being ordered up, getting that resource order. And that goes true with the Forest Service, and we will extend that to the 7 western states. We will be on station and operational within 24 hours of receiving a resource order, because that's exactly what we do. It's a rapid response, professional air traffic control service that's certified by the FAA, and we know that when we get an order from the Forest Service or CAL FIRE, that we need to get there as soon as possible. When we get ordered up by the Forest Service or CAL FIRE, we happen to have a national contract with the Forest Service and a statewide contract with CAL FIRE in the state of California. And when they decide that they need an air traffic control tower at one of their airport venues, let me regress to say that most of the large forest fires happen in fairly remote areas in the mountains and the foothills, for the most part. And those airports in those areas are more than not uncontrolled airports. So in an uncontrolled airport environment, the local air traffic is very comfortable in their day-to-day operations, talking on what they call a common traffic advisory frequency. They in effect sequence themselves and provide separations between themselves on a radio frequency. But if the Forest Service, for example, brings in a 20 to 25 helicopter operation in a firefighting environment, that is an awful lot of traffic for the local area to absorb and work their way through. So in the interest of air traffic safety, a temporary air traffic control tower is set up at any of these airports. And during that time, we will get a phone call when it's decided that the tower is necessary. And of course, the number of airplanes at each one of these temporary fire tower installations, as the fire gets bigger, more equipment is brought in, and finally it gets to the point where they need an air traffic control tower. So they call their dispatch organization and order a temporary air traffic control tower. If we are selected to fulfill that order, we get a call asking if we are in fact available to go wherever this incident might be occurring. And if we are, they will send us what they call a resource order. And as soon as we're on the resource order, we are on the clock. So within 2 hours of receiving that resource order via email or fax, we are on the road. I have a group, I'm very fortunate to have a group of controllers that work for Tower Tech that will pretty much drop whatever they're doing at a moment's notice during the summer months when we're in season, fire season, and go anywhere we need to go. So they have a bag packed all summer. They get a phone call, they're in their car, or they go rent a car, or they jump on an airplane, wherever we need to have them, they are ready, willing, and able to get there. Once we arrive, it's a matter of detaching the trailer from the truck, setting up the trailer, which generally takes less than an hour to go from arrival time to operational time. So we do all the coordination with the Federal Aviation Administration. We do the coordination with the airport managing folks who are responsible to issue what is called a NOTAM, or Notice to Airmen, that explains nationally that there is a temporary tower in force at any given airport at any given time. And we are generally there by the NOTAM's information until further notice, because we never know. We can be there 2 days, we can be there 2 months. Rapid response is basically what we do.
866 Fox Alpha, go ahead.
Request a flyby on runway 30 at 200 feet AGL and then a right downwind exit to pattern.
Where are you now, sir, from the airport?
10 miles east.
Okay, right base work for you?
Yes, sir.
Along with the Forest Service and CAL FIRE that we have standing contracts with, we also provide the Air Traffic Control Service to area air shows. And air shows like Half Moon Bay in Northern California in the Bay Area. We have done that show for the last 4 years. And another air show that we have done, again for the 4th time this year, the Columbia Father's Day Fly-In in the Sonora area. So not only do we cover emergency incidents or accidents in the way of CAL FIRE and the Forest Service, but also the air show venues. We can be hired by city entities, private companies, county government agencies that require air traffic control service. We're ready to go where we need to go to explain to folks how Tower Tech might make their venue safer, better. It doesn't take much. The FAA, no matter where we are at an air show, at a fire tower, wherever we are, they come out with an examiner, an FAA examiner, and certify us to work that venue. I think all you have to do is think about if you have an airfare going on at your particular airport, would you prefer that the FAA or some professional air traffic control company was at your venue providing sequencing between arrivals and departures and successive arrivals and parking airplanes and things like that? Would you prefer that pilots took care of that themselves on a common traffic advisory frequency? Or would you rather have an FAA certified air traffic control tower with certified controllers in it, issuing positive control instructions to all the traffic in the pattern? So I think it's almost a no-brainer. If you have a tower, your event is going to be much more organized, and safety is, of course, enhanced with an air traffic control tower.
Thank you, sir. Frequency change approved. Make clear the Bravo airspace.
Will do. Thanks, first one.